Okay, we're moving on to Unit 5, Lesson 8. It's the last one of this section. And we're going to model with linear inequalities. So you can see down below we're going to graph, but we're also going to solve algebraically. Yeah, it's kind of like double the work, but you'll see why in a minute. So here we got John, who mows yards for his father's landscaping business at $10 per hour and also works at a bakery for $15 per hour. So okay, we got two things going on here. X is landscaping, and Y is the bakery. He needs to make at least $600 per week to cover his living expenses. So this is John's dilemma. If he takes the number of hours he works at landscaping and adds on the number of hours at the bakery, he can work at most 52. So that means we have to be below 52 or equal to it. All right, so he can also has to look at his money. He gets $10 per hour for landscaping and $15 per hour working at the bakery. And he has to make at least 600. Sorry if you hear all the noise up above. It's my husband upstairs moving furniture around for some strange reason. Okay, anyway, if you look at this, you may say, why is John even bothering to work at his dad's landscaping business? He's only paying him $10 an hour. He can work at the bakery for $15 an hour and make much more. We don't know the situation. Maybe John's got to help out his dad for some reason, but let's just go with this. All right. If I were to solve this, I couldn't solve it as an inequality. What I could do was to look at these as equalities and then solve them by any of the method that we've learned. We could do substitution, we could do graphing, we could do elimination, and I'm going to really quick do elimination. So that means I'm going to multiply everybody up here by -10. So that when I do that, I get -10x minus 10y equals, oops, I didn't put an equal sign there, -520. Add those together, 5y equals 80, y equals 16. All right, 16 plus what gets me 52? All right, x would have to be 36. Now, I did that very quickly. You should be adept at solving this way by now. But this is only, remember, one possible answer. And I'm going to show you where this answer comes up over here graphing. All right, let me get rid of all this. And I'm going to write over here y equals 16 and x equaled 36. And we're going to come back to that into a minute. All right, so now we're going to come over here and we're going to graph these guys. So if I were to graph this person, this graph right here, I got to solve for y. Y is less than or equal to -x plus 52. So that means my y-intercept is 52. Let me see, 52, 54, 56. Yep, I went by 2s, 52. And I'm going to show you another way to graph. I'm going to show you how to graph by zeros. That means the first time I put a 0 in for x. And guess what happens? It tells me my y-intercept. My y has to be 52, right? So this is the point where 0 is x, y is 52. Now I'm going to do it the other way. I'm going to put a 0 in for y. And again, that should be an equal sign. Getting caught up in my inequalities. So what does x have to be so that when I add two things together, I get 0? Right, x is 52 and y is 0. Look how easy it is to graph by what we call intercepts. It's pretty stinking easy. All right, so then we'll give that line in there, connect the points. And now we have to shade. let's see, we want to shade less than. So shading less than means I'm shading over here. Shading below the line. We could always check that by picking the point 0, 0 and seeing 0 plus 0 is indeed less than 52. All right, now I'm going to graph my purple line. And my purple line, I have to solve for y. So 15y greater than or equal to negative 10x plus 600. Okay, divide by 15, divide by 15. Y is greater than or equal to negative 2/3 x plus 60 divided by 15 is not hard, it's 40. All right, my y-intercept is 40, because if I put a 0 in for x, the y value ends up being 40, and I'm going to use that y-intercept and x-intercept theory again. Now I'm going to put a 0 in for y, and what would I have to put in for x to get that to be 0? Well, it would have to be negative 40. Let's see. 2/3 of what number gets me 40? Oh, 2/3 of 60. So the other point would be if I put 60 in for x, then my y value would be 0. So here's 60. I'm going to connect these lines. Sorry, connect these points. And now I have to shade. And this one is a greater than, so I'm going to shade this way. And now we're finally going to see what that 16 and 36 really was. Was it the answer? No, it was an answer. It was a boundary answer. See, it is right there. That's where the two lines cross at 1636. You can probably hear the dogs barking as usual and running. But remember, any point in here is okay. These can be any one of John's working conditions because anything in here crosses, so therefore they're answers. And remember, you can also be anything on the lines too because they were equal to. So John's got a lot of opportunities to make sure he makes enough money to live on, and he works his 52 hours. This 16/36 was just a point, one of the boundaries in this equation. Okay, we'll do one more. Luis receives a gift card worth $25 to an online retailer that sells digital music and games. Each song costs $1, and each game costs $2. He wants to buy at least 15 items with this card. All right, so we're going to start again. We'll have X be music, and we'll have Y be games. So he wants to buy at least 15 items. So the amount of music plus the amount of games has to be at least 15. Each song costs $1, and each game costs $2, but he was only given $25. So when I add these together, they can't go above 25, so I have to stay below or equal to 25. So once again, if I solve this to find out where one of the boundaries is, I'm going to run a negative through, and do elimination. So those cancel out, and I get y equals 10, because remember, we kind of ignore the inequalities. So we know the y, which are the games, he could buy 10. And then if we put this in, the songs, which are x, well, I'm going to go back to this one. 10 plus what equals 15? Well, that's going to be 5. So we know that's a boundary. Now, if I was going to graph this, this is what I would get. Let me clean it up. All right, so if I solve this for y, and I'm going to graph this by my 0 intercepts again. So my y-intercept, where does it cross the y-axis? Well, we know it crosses the y-axis at 15. My x-intercept is found by putting in 0 for y, and that would make that 15. So negative 15 plus 15 gets me 0. So it goes from 15 to 15. Okay, great. Let's graph the next one. 2y is less than or equal to negative x plus 25. All right, got to divide by 2. Y is less than or equal to negative x halves plus 25 over 2. Well, before I forget, I didn't shade this one in. All right, we have to go back to this purple one. Greater than means I'm above. Now I can do my pink one. Oop, got ahead of myself a little bit there. Well, my y-intercept is 25 divided by 2, so that's 12.5. So this is 11, 12, 12.5 is right there. However, if I want to do my x-intercept, that would mean anything on the x-axis, the y value is 0. Positive 25 over 2 plus negative something over 2 is going to equal 0. Well, it's kind of obvious. It's going to be negative 25. So that x value was a 25. I can now connect the lines. This needs to be shaded also. This was a less than. All right, so now where do the areas cross? Well, if I take my little shape recognition pen in here, and this is where the pink and purple areas are crossing over each other. Now see this 10 and 5? Well, look right here where they cross, at 10 and 5. So remember, that's just one of the boundaries. As long as he picks any combination in this pink area, he's going to stay within his limit. So let's pick this dot right here. What does this dot look to be? This looks to be 16, and that is 2. So remember, we let the x's be the songs. So this is saying if we pick this point right here, that he could have 16 songs, and games were y, and this says 2 games. Could that be a possibility? Sure, because 16 plus 2 has to be greater than or equal to 15, which it is. It's 18. And then this one says if I take the x value, which is 16, and add double the y value, which is 2, so that becomes 4, 16 plus 4 less than or equal to 25? Yes. So this would be his boundary at one point. And then we have some others, because this happened to be a nice little triangle. But remember, anything in the little shaded pink area works.